Hello, music fans. You're watching Death by Unicorn, where we talk about metal, rock, and prog music. So, about a month ago, I hit 200 subscribers. So, big thank you to everyone who subscribed for helping me hit that milestone. So, I wanted to do a different kind of video to celebrate that milestone. So, I put three ideas into a poll, put that up in my community tab on my YouTube channel, and this idea won. So today I'm going to be ranking the Prog Archives website. They have a top 10 albums of all time, and I'm going to rank them. I didn't come up with this idea myself. I saw this video on some other channels. I saw it on Andy Edwards' channel and Scott from the Prog Corner. They both did this. Possibly some others have done this too. So let's just first look at what the Prog Archives top 10 is, and then I'll give you my ranking of them. So at number 10, they have Yes with their album Fragile. Great album from 1971. Uh, yeah, I love it. It's got Roundabout, which is probably my favorite Yes track. Lots of other great tracks on here too. It has lots of great full band tracks and then some of the tracks where the individual musicians take the spotlight as well. At number 9, they've got Animals by Pink Floyd from 1977. It's a great one as well. Love it a lot. Probably my favorite track on here would be Dogs, but I really love the whole album from start to finish. It's bookended by Pigs on the Wing, kind of part one and part two that are really short tracks, and then they've got three longer meteor tracks in the middle. Dogs, pigs, or dogs, sheep, and why do I not remember? Pigs, three different ones. That's what it's called, I think. Yeah. So great album, 1977. At number 8, they've got Red by King Crimson from 1974. So far, they're all from the 70s, and they're all British bands and like big prog rock bands. So let's see if that trend continues. Yeah, this is another great album. Love the track Fallen Angel. Really love everything on this album by King Crimson. Number 7, Foxtrot by Genesis from 1972. Another great one. I think this is the one that has Suppers Ready on it, right? I believe so. Great album. Number 6, Dark Side of the Moon. Legendary album, one of the best selling. Probably, I'm assuming this will be the best selling one on this list. 1973. Amazing album, start to finish. Probably my favorite track on there would be Us and Them, but I love everything on it, really. Number 5, they have Thick as a Brick by Jethro Tull. Great, like pretty much like a one track album, 1972. Number 4, they've got Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd. Awesome, awesome album. Just beautiful. Love the Shine On You Crazy Diamond stuff. Also love Welcome to the Machine. The title track, Wish You Were Here, Have a Cigar. I guess that's pretty much every song on the album. Love it. So this one, kind of like Animals, is bookended by two short songs, Pigs on the Wing. This one's actually bookended by two kind of the more epic songs, Shine On You Crazy Diamond. They kind of split it and that epic up into two tracks. Number 3 is In the Court of the Crimson King from King Crimson. It's from 1969, so it's the first one not from the 70s. It's from 1969, and King Crimson, some people say it's the first prog rock album ever. And I guess it is kind of where like prog rock, like there was rock that was starting to do more adventurous things before this, of course, but this might be the first time where it's kind of like a genre and the whole album does it. Number 2, they have Selling England by the Pound by Genesis from 1973. Another great one. And at number 1, they have Close to the Edge by Yes. for 1972. And I totally agree, and it makes sense. Like this is a kind of a the archetype for a prog rock album. It's got the epic track Close to the Edge to start the album, one of the best prog epics ever. And then it's got And You and I and Siberian Khatru on side two of the album. It's only got three tracks and they're all awesome. So that's Progarchives top 10. Now let me give you my ranking order of these. So for this, I've got a nice slideshow here. Let's play it. Oh, I gotta switch my display settings. There we go. So now you should be seeing my slide. All right, ranking the Progarchives top 10 prog albums of all time. So coming in at number 10 for me is Thick as a Brick by Jethro Tull. Now I should say as a disclaimer before I go much further, I love all these albums. They're all great. This one's truly excellent. Like most of these they're all either excellent, near masterpiece, or masterpiece for me. This one is an excellent album, full one track album. Probably my favorite Jethro Tull album. It's kind of close sometimes between this, Aqualung, Passion Play, Minstrel in the Gallery, and Songs from the Wood, I think are kind of my favorite Jethro Tull albums. So those five albums by Jethro Tull, I just really love. I think they're all excellent, and they have a lot of other good stuff too. But this is truly great. I just love the other stuff on the list a little bit more. At number 9, I've got Genesis with Foxtrot from 1972. Another great one. I can't really say anything bad about all these albums. This one's also excellent. And yeah, that prog epic Supper's Ready is just so good. How can you complain about that? At number 8, I've got Genesis Selling England by the Pound. I think it's maybe just a bit more of a like consistent album, but it's than Foxtrot, but it's pretty close. Like I could maybe swap those two. I just kind of felt like today putting this one above it. And at number 7, I got King Crimson with Red. Now this one I feel like it's a near masterpiece. Like everything on it's great. I feel like maybe there's like a improvised part that's a little bit less good for me. Like I don't really love the whole improv sections where it just kind of veers off into slightly what I call pointless ambient noise and wankery, but the songs are great and the playing's great. The compositions are great. I like when they're actually structured songs and composed. So honestly, probably just the improvisation is what keeps it from being up higher, if higher on the list than this. At number 6, I've got King Crimson again with In the Court of the Crimson King from 1969. Amazing. Look at that legendary album cover. Love it. And yeah, every song on here is great. I think Moonchild maybe went on for a little long. It was like starts off being a good song and then it kind of goes into the improvisational stuff that I mentioned and complained about on the other one. But I love, love the title track in the Court of the Crimson King. I love 21st Century Schizoid Man. I think those ones are legendary. And really, I love every track on here. Epitaph. What else is on here? Yeah, just a great album. Number 6. At number 5. Come on, go to the next slide. There we go. Yes, with Close to the Edge. Yeah, no, this was number 1 for Progarchives, and I see how it deserves to be number 1, but I'm just going to be honest that I'm just ranking this on personal preference. I don't have any criteria about how important it is or like what how early it was. Just like what do I like to listen to the most? And I love listening to this, but the 4 above it I just love a little more. At number four, I've got Yes with their album Fragile, and this is my favorite Yes album. Just really love it. At number three, Pink Floyd and Animals. I just love Pink Floyd, and actually, it was pretty close between my number two and number three. I like kind of debate between how I order them. My number two is also Pink Floyd with Dark Side of the Moon. Some days I kind of like Animals more, but Dark Side of the Moon is just so legendary. It takes you on a journey. They all do. Pink Floyd at this time, they were like the greatest band, I'd say. I mean, there's some bands that are missing from the from this Prog Archive list that I want to plug to here at the end because I feel like, this Prog Archives list is very kind of set in a certain era with favoring certain bands. But number one on what's on there has to be Pink Floyd with Wish You Were Here. I just love everything about this album. I think it's the best Pink Floyd album. And it's the best album of 1975, I think. And one of the best albums of the 70s decade as a whole. So I found when I was doing this ranking, I had to be honest with myself. It just kind of ended up this way that the bands that I liked best just had all their albums grouped together. And, the band that I like best on here is there's only five bands featured on Prog Archive's top 10. So they kind of double dipped on a lot of bands, triple dipped on Pink Floyd, double dipped on Yes, King Crimson, Genesis, and just one from Jethro Tull. So I noticed like the order in which I like the bands, that was pretty much the order in which I like the albums. And every band had all their albums grouped together because I just liked the albums from those bands better than all the albums from the others. So, and I also noticed that the order in which I prefer the bands is the same order I got into those bands in. So Pink Floyd is my favorite of the five bands, but I got into them first. Then there was Yes, my second favorite, who I got into next. The King Crimson was my third favorite band on the five, which I got into next. Then Genesis, then Jethro Tull. But I love all these bands. And I noticed every album on this list was from 1970s Prague, I guess, with one exception from 1969. But there were some glaring omissions from 1970s Prague. The lack of Rush on this list was disturbing to me. They're my favorite 1970s prog band. So, if they had an album like A Farewell to Kings, Hemispheres, and 2112, like those would pretty much be my top three albums from the 70s. And I would rank those above everything on here because I just love Rush. Um, the lack of Gentle Giant, like I feel like Gentle Giant's a really great 70s prog band. Freehand and Octopus would be my top two albums from them. And then everything on here is from the UK. So it would have been great to have Rush to represent Canada and have something that's not from the UK. But perhaps an Italian prog album like Darwin by Banco del Mutuo Cercoso could have made it to have some diversity in countries and language on the list. But I think most glaring of all is actually the lack of anything that came out in 1980 or later. Uh, there's lots of great albums that keep coming out. So it's kind of funny how the top 10 is always like the 70s one. And I get it, like it's the people who read Prog Archives, like they're gonna like the legendary prog stuff from this legendary period. But a lot of great stuff came out after 1980. And the lack of any prog metal on here, like prog metal is my favorite genre. So I'd love to see bands like Protest the Hero, Between the Buried and Me, Dream Theater, Haken, Caligula's Horse, Symphony X, Opeth, Periphery, Tesseract. Those would all be kind of top-notch bands for me for a list of, my favorites, my personal favorites, and probably if I was doing a prog metal list, they would be the best as well, in my opinion. And then even Rush stuff from the early 80s is great, like Moving Pictures and Permanent Waves. Um, But then even modern prog rock, not just prog metal, like missing stuff like Thank You Scientist, Steven Wilson, Toe Hider, Bubble Math, the Mars Volta, Porcupine Tree, Coheed and Cambria, and the Deer Hunter. I think those are all some great bands that could be on here. But I understand it's hard to pick like a top 10 albums, and people are gonna pick like the classics probably. So those are my thoughts on the Prog Archives top 10. I think it's a great list and every album on it's great. I just kind of wanted to rant a little bit at the end here about how it's all kind of samey stuff from the 70s, and plug a few more modern bands in case some of the folks watching only really know 70s prog rock. Maybe check out some of those other bands that I just mentioned in my rant here at the end. Hope you enjoyed my ranking. How would you rank these albums from the Prog Archives top 10? Let me know down in the comments. And what do you think are some of the best albums that are missing from the list? Also, let me know. And thanks again to everyone who subscribed and helped me hit 200 subscribers about a month ago. Let's get to 300 soon and maybe even 400, hopefully by the end of the year. Got my eyes set on that. So let's go. Hit that subscribe button if you're new here and you want to stay in the loop on my videos. I post my first impressions of new albums that come out in metal, rock, and prog pretty much every week. Every month, I usually give my top 10 albums of the month, and I also put out an album release radar at the beginning of the month saying all the albums that I plan to listen to that are coming out. And of course, at the end of the year, I'll give my favorite albums of the year, and I'll probably do some full-length album reviews of albums that really blow my mind, and maybe I'll talk about some old classics here and there and just special topic videos as I come up with ideas. Let me know if you have any ideas as well for a video you'd like to see me do. Let me know down in the comments. And thank you all for watching. Until next time, peace out.